This, my friends, is James Brian Chadwell II. He is one of about a dozen people named officially in the last 4 years as a person of interest in the Delphi double homicide case. As you'll remember on our last Delphi video, Kate and I were not totally convinced that he was the bridge suspect. In order to better understand this scumbag, we must first assess his criminal history, which is extensive. When law enforcement revealed that they were following up on a good lead, Chadwell was called person of interest and even potential suspect in some media sources connected with Carroll County. Sheriff Tobe Lesenby has stated that the information regarding him has been shared with us and our investigators are looking into him. He also later said that Chadwell had been, quote, on their radar for some time. With a smug smile and a litany of serious violent convictions in the past, we have a ton of things to go through here. Let's examine exactly why he may be the bridge guy. There is no way around it. Chadwell does resemble the bridge guy. His face lines up at roughly the same dimensions as Sketch 1, and his body and the manner of how he carries himself just seems frighteningly similar to what we see in the video on the bridge. As you can see here with this video I made, Chadwell and the bridge guy walk with the same stride, favoring the right leg as he steps, only this time it's into his jail cell. Chadwell's voice is fairly soft-spoken with a slight Midwestern American accent. If we compare it to the audio captured of the suspect, you will notice instantly the alarming similarities between the two.
Constantly try and stand up to the government because they're corrupt. Constantly try and stand up to the government because they're corrupt.
Is Brian Chadwell capable of murder? I would say that is a big yes. If the most recent case with him involved hasn't revealed that to you yet, his checkered and violent past should scream it, and has screamed it for many, many years now. The incident on April 19th is an example of an evil so dark and destructive that we could never fully understand it. Not now, not ever. I mean, he lured his 9-year-old neighbor into his home, acting as a nice, polite, hidden monster until it was too late. He then held her in his basement, sexually assaulted her several times, had a pit bull bite and attack her, and then attempted to strangle her to death to cover up the act. Police canvassing the area that day questioned Chadwell earlier. He set off red flags, and while police conjured up a probable cause warrant, he tried to kill her, even believing that he had done so. But when law enforcement arrived to search, they found a door shackled with chains and found her injured with bruises around her neck, bloodshot and blackened eyes, sitting on some blankets in the basement. The issue with people like Brian Chadwell are that they are chameleons. Psychopaths have a deep facade with a lot of hidden rooms. They wear a mask every hour of every day, except when they reveal themselves to their victims. He's no exception. When we examine Brian's Facebook, we begin to see several patterns emerge. The first is obviously his love for his dog. It's tragic because that dog now has lost its home and shelter, likely seized and euthanized for being used by Brian as a weapon to bite the victim. The second thing we see is that he tries to portray himself as an outdoorsman, often posting shots of the fires he lights and the streams and creeks he frequents, fishing, hunting, things like that. But even more alarming are the images of him posing for selfies with bridges. After a few of them, things begin to take on almost a dark and scary twist. There are also several photos from 2018 that appear to show him with bullet wounds. One even shows him removing the bullet from just above his pubic region. Of course, all of this means very little by itself, but together, combined, with the facts of the case, his voice, the way he steps, he appears to be the closest person of interest that the Delphi murder case has had up until this point. Brian is a repeat offender with some dozen arrests, some of which are for violent crimes. It's evident that this dog needed to be put down a long time ago. And it's not like he put on a good show, or like Dennis Rader put on a good person's mask. This man is and was always evil, always a narcissist, always a murderous failure as a man and as a human being, in spite of what he claimed of himself. So that being said, he was living in a dump apartment in Lafayette at the time of the double murder, and he was not incarcerated but was on probation for DWI and other offenses. This is the exact same probation that Indiana revoked this year when he was caught abducting that girl. In May of this year, sleuths noticed that Chadwell had a tattoo on his right arm showing a girl's face crying, with bones and bloody roses around it. Many stated that the face was Liberty German, and while I will admit to see what they mean, further investigation determined that he actually had the tattoo March of 2016, nearly a year earlier than the double homicide. I felt that this point was important to cover to give you guys a courtesy. It's easy for hysteria to take hold sometimes, although this one is a slam debunk. Look, James Brian Chadwell is a bastard, an arrogant narcissist and psychopath who is more than capable of murder, rape, even sodomy with a minor. His clear interests in the outdoors, living in the woods, and his strange obsession with bridges, railways, and creeks throughout Indiana and South Dakota are highly suspect. After all is said and done, James Brian Chadwell is a good person of interest, if not a possible suspect in the Delphi double homicide case. He fits the age range, the body type, weight, and height. He walks like the suspect, talks like the suspect, and worst of all, we know he's capable of doing what the suspect did to those kids. If we look into his social media at the dozens of photos of bridges, creeks, and trains, you will notice one of the most damning truths thus far for him. Living in Lafayette, a mere 15 minutes from Delphi, ask yourself why there's not a single image of the Monon High Bridge on any of his social media pages. How many red flags before we call him the suspect? Comment below, let us know. This is Matt Sullivan. Thank you for watching Crime Dive.